Hello, everyone. I'm Aubrey Burch with Easy School Marketing, and I'm so delighted that you're here because we have a special guest with us today. It is Mia from Ready, Set, Enroll. She is also the most amazing organizer of Mark Your Calendars, folks. Our school marketing summit on April 15th and 16th. You better be there. It's going to be fabulous. All right. So, Mia, can you tell everyone, if they're not familiar with you, which they should be, tell them a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Aubrey. That was like the best introduction. So well done. Well, so just a little bit about me. I've worked with schools for over 13 years. I actually used to work in admissions at a private high school in Los Angeles. And then, because in LA, we have so many private schools, and every single one of us admissions directors were going to the same events every time. So we all knew all the admission directors. So I was like, someone has to branch off and start something so that we're not having to do this. So I ended up actually branching off and starting a magazine that profiled private schools. And then we distributed that to prospective families. And so, I visited over 100 private schools. And so just got a lot of insights into the kind of, what the marketing was like that schools were doing, and, just the tone and everything. And now I have a Facebook group. I help schools along with their marketing, and, I have my regular list I send messages out to, but I love connecting also with the talent within our private school realm. And so we have our school marketing summit coming up in April, which I'm so excited about, Aubrey, which you're speaking at. And we're just so happy to have you. So yeah.
That's so exciting. And you know what I see you as? I see you as a connector. So you're like the connector. You're the connector you were before, when you were in that other role, and now you're also the connector. And I think that's so important. And I think that gets into some of the topics that we're going to discuss today, which is like the connection is so important, right? The
Right.
relationship building, everything like that. So can you paint a picture for folks, like what's happening today? What are you seeing that you're really noticing in your community of private schools that you would like to really talk about that can help shed light on it for other people, I think?
Yeah. So I think, the thing that comes to my mind, and I love how you identify me as the connector, right? Because that truly is me. Like, how do we create those stronger relationships? And so with, how our, things are going now because of COVID, a lot of us are having to practice social distancing. We're not doing things exactly the same way. So a lot of what I see is, how do we make those connections in safe ways with not feeling like we're compromising, the delivery of our message, right? So how do we utilize Zoom to do presentations? How do we deliver live presentations? And so, maybe these are things like what I do see is schools thinking about investing in expensive software to show, virtual tours, or they have what they call virtual recruitment. It's a landing page, but it goes back to that connection. And we have to really come back to how do we create that connection? Because that's the best way ever that you can do your recruitment, is making that true connection with your audience. So that's what I see and what I talk about a lot with my constituents, and I'm always bringing up. And so I even bring that up with my speakers, right? Like, how do we speak? And then I send them to Aubrey's videos.
Oh my gosh, you're too much. I love it. Yes. And by the way, guys, if you aren't grabbing your own coffee and stuff, this is how we roll here. With me and I, we love to have a coffee chat, and we keep it informal and real because, it's got to be interesting too, folks.
Yes.
So I really love what you said, and it's all about connection. And that is so key. I mean, as I'm watching people go through the admissions process right now, all these prospective families, right? It's the schools that they're connecting with the most that are really helping them make that emotional tie to them, right? They're cementing the emotional tie, which if we all remember, like you kind of make decisions emotionally and then you back it up with the logic, right? And I think the connection is so important to this piece. And we often forget that. How have you seen this lived out, like in a school, like, or a common mistake maybe that you see in schools doing with this?
Yeah, so we'll speak generally, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because no pointing fingers. We're all trying really hard. We're working our way through this, but like you'll see schools doing the head of school address, right? And they'll be in their suit and tie. And then next will be the parent panel and then the student panel, and it'll be an hour and a half long or more, and it's like, oh my god. And and then they're spending a lot of money on the tech because they have people coming, they have a tech group coming in with lighting and a recording, and it's like, wow, you could sit with like a coach for half an hour and and get really more intense value and connection with your audience by taking away, because those create boundaries, right? And I do want to back up, because maybe for some schools that's what their audience wants. I can't speak to that, because that, to me, I want to be able to make that connection with that audience. And I know from my practice over and over, just like what you said, when you make that connection, that school, those parents come back. They constantly come back. They're making an investment in your school that is not always rational for them. And what's going to justify that irrational decision for them? Those feelings. It's only those feelings, right? Because they want to feel good about that investment. They want to feel like it's the right place. So they're going to make that investment. But it's an emotional decision. It's exactly what you say. So how do we do that? It's the relationships. And so really what it comes down to is creating something that is more human, right? Talking about stories, having a presentation that doesn't have so many of those boundaries, right? So, because all that tech, that extra lighting, the suit and tie, three people sitting, because parents who are on a panel are nervous too if they're on camera. Well, how do we break down that nervousness so that they're more human, And we don't share as easily when we're so nervous.
And I think what you're getting at is that it's a school being authentically them, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's how they show up to like meetings with their staff, like sitting like this and like very, proper and formal and stuff like that. I think we lose some of that if we're not intentionally trying to make it something that feels like us, right?
Yeah.
And I think what you're talking about the format and stuff is key, because I see the long, very long, drawn out, virtual tour open house videos. And we have to think like we want to highlight everything under the sun, right? Everything. Let's just put it all in there, and because we don't want to leave anything out, because that might be the decision maker. That might be what the parents truly want to hear about. But when we do that, it's like the worst thing possible, because no one is going to sit. Not no one, there are people. But if we look at like millennials, if we look at people and their attention span, and especially if you have kids at home, forget it. Like,
oh my gosh.
I know from experience, I can barely get through an hour and a half Zoom call.
Oh my God, Audrey,
little head popping up, right?
You are so clear about it. You absolutely just like nailed it, right? Schools are so wanting to put every single bullet point of what they offer, their 30 plus AP classes, and list them all and have, 10 bullet points on each slide. I mean, you've just nailed it. Because what if that one family is looking for this one thing? And that's not the case, right? Most of the time, what you need to do in it is engage them with what your true value is, right? Then they'll realize those extras and those details are going to fall. They're going to figure out how that fits into their life. They're just going to make it fit into their life.
Absolutely, right? And a lot of times it's the first engagement they have with a school, right? And they're just trying to get the taste, the feel of like what you're all about. And it's, when we put too much in there, we're taking away from, I feel like you have this amount of time to, I don't want to say wow them, but to connect them to who you are, the heart of who you are. And so how are we using that time? And I think, I mean, you've hit on it, like what makes your school special. And that's what we want them to walk away with. And then they'll follow up, they'll dig deep. You can do an email nurture sequence afterwards. I mean, there's so many ways to give them the other information, that the 5,000 things that you also want them to know about, right? But this time is so precious. So how do we use it best? And that's why I think your tips and strategies are really going to be helpful for the schools. Now, are you speaking? I think you're speaking about something similar for the summit, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It is the topic I'm presenting on, about like how to use live Zoom platform for giving presentations to your prospective families, right? So how do we create that engagement so what we want is for them to keep coming back, right? And so I did about 40 live webinars last year. And so it's always, and this goes exactly to what you're saying, you want to give just enough information, but not too much, because you want them wanting more at the end of the presentation. Like, it's key. If they're sitting on the edge of their seat wanting more at the end, you've done your job. Because you want them to pick up the phone and call you. That's what you want.
Yes. So they can find out more, right? You're giving them the teaser, the little appetizer, right? Little nugget of things that they need to know, and then draw them in so that they want to contact you, get them interested, right?
Yes.
I think that's so important. Now, another thing that when I think of this, I think of you, is like customer service. Can you talk about it? Because it's connection, but it's in a different format, right? It's
Right.
Connecting. And we had talked a little bit about how important this is. Can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing in schools and how maybe best practices or maybe a common mistake you're seeing right now for schools?
Yeah. So one of the things, like, I love what we were talking about in one of our videos is, it doesn't matter who comes to your school. It is so important to nurture that person, right? And so one of the things, like, I just go back to and I think of constantly, because I was a vendor when I was doing my magazine. I mean, everyone knew me because I had worked in admissions, but I was the ad salesperson, and a lot of the front desk people didn't know who I was. Wow. Like, when they thought I was a vendor, that sometimes, like, it's so important that your customer service is everywhere, from your teachers, and we all know that front desk person is your solid gold, right? Your vendors, your UPS person, you need to nurture like they're a prospect. Everybody deserves the same golden treatment.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Oh, wisely said.
Yeah. And I was so lucky. I had an amazing mentor. She was leading, she was the assistant principal and kind of like my guide when I was starting in admissions. And she just was the queen of customer service. Like, I mean, she just had it down. It was everybody deserved to be treated like a prospect. And so it was interesting, how I would be, it was a real insight for me about what a school was doing and how they treated me as a vendor. Right. And so, it's just information you hold tight. Right. But, it doesn't make you feel good. When you're trying to build relationships and it's like cut, right? But here's the thing, like, I was also talking to somebody else that was trying to make connections with a school group, right? To come vend their services. And the school group was like, oh, we don't do vendors. And I was like, it's a relationship. You don't know how they can serve you. Just ask more information. They might be able to serve you. Right? You don't know how anyone can serve or not serve you. You can always say no later, but be open to that opportunity no matter what it is. And if they're pushy, recognize that that's part of your service too. Hey, I appreciate what you're doing, but this is maybe a little bit too much for us. I'll take your number down for later if we ever need you. Just
Absolutely. It is all about building relationships. And I've worked in many different positions throughout a school. And I was always the person who built the relationships. Like I worked with the kitchen staff. I knew their names. They worked
mm,
second jobs. I knew where they were coming from. They always helped me out. Like we need to know everyone and build those relationships. It is so important. And oftentimes, you mentioned that front desk person. What I sometimes see is we put the front desk person who's there, we put them there because either we've hired them externally and we just need someone to fill this job, or we've put like Betty, who's been with us for 45 years, but Betty doesn't have necessarily the kindest way of phrasing things as people call and interact with her. And so then we kind of put that very, abrupt barrier in place between someone potentially getting to know us.
yeah.
And I think that is key. And we never know. I believe everyone's just a single degree of separation. We were talking about or if you want to use the Kevin Bacon thing, 6 degrees of separation from people. So even the UPS driver who's coming in and interacting with your school, that is a relationship, that is a connection, that is potential brand awareness for your school, right? And how you
Yeah.
are perceived in the external community. So it is so important. I think you bring up something that we often overlook and don't necessarily put as much time and effort in as we should.
Yeah,
So thank you.
exactly. And my mentor used to say, she goes, word will get around. Word gets around. And she goes, all you need is that one person saying something negative and it spreads like wildfire. And people unfortunately people will gossip without researching where the info is coming from or finding what the truth really is. And you just want to avoid that. You don't want to be that. You really want the person, because that's where the solid relationships come in. Whereas this gossip is being said, you want that person that has a solid relationship with your school to say, I have no idea where that came from. Like that's your brand ambassador right there. Right.
And that they then follow up with the school and say, this is what I heard. Can you please shed some light on this?
Right.
That is what we want. We want those relationships where the relationship with the school is so solid that should anything happen, that they feel comfortable going to the school. So we don't have what I call the silent but deadly ones, like who don't say anything. They don't say anything and then they leave, right? They leave
Right.
and you're like, oh, how did that happen? It's because they
Right.
didn't have the relationship, right?
Right. And I think you've just reinforced it when you have a school that can say, oh my gosh, you heard that. Thank you so much for telling me. That's really important. Tell me a little bit more about it. Oh my God. Then it's like you realize how much they care. It's not reactive, it's proactive. Let's figure this out and understand where this is coming from. That's real management and leadership.
It is. Well,
Yeah.
that's amazing. I've enjoyed having you chat with us today. Is there any final thing you'd like to leave us with, or perhaps we can shamelessly promote the amazing Marketing School Summit that's coming up? Please
Yeah.
take it away.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited to have the School Marketing Summit. We have amazing talent, Aubrey. I mean, we have so many people in our school realm that just know so much about, school enrollment and fundraising. And this is just going to be a great event for our school marketers and knowing how to make those greater connections and building up their enrollment. So yeah, April 15th and 16th.
It's
Thank
going to
you.
be fun. You all are going to love it. So you got to be there and make sure you catch both of our presentations. It will be so much fun. Mia, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. As always, it's great to spend time with you and informally I have our green tea / coffee chat.
Perfect. I loved it. Thanks, Aubrey.
Thank you.